Hello, I'm Paloma from askpaloma.com, and this is a preview for the Thrive Despite Anxiety program. And we'll talk about what we'll cover, what you get with the course, and well, I love to teach, so I won't be able to help myself, I'm sure, but I'll make it as brief as possible. So, this program comes in 3 modules. The first one covers what anxiety is. We'll get into a little more detail in just a second, but basically, we tend to think of anxiety as an enemy because it feels like one. But is it really? Or is it maybe just our subconscious, our body saying, hey, something's going on and I need you to pay closer attention? If we can change the way we perceive anxiety and how we label it in our minds and in our hearts, it makes it easier for us to deal with the symptoms and change the way we react to those emotions, and then eventually the way those emotions present themselves. In the second module, we will start to build and design a personalized emotional first aid kit. And this is for use when you are in the moment feeling anxiety. Because in the moment, if someone says to you, well, you're feeling anxious right now, how did you sleep last night? Maybe you should change your sleep patterns. How is that helpful to you in the moment when you're feeling anxious? It isn't. So we need tools first to deal with that anxiety in the moment, how we're feeling. And then later, which is module 3, then we can look at how we can continue to take care of ourselves and lay that foundation so that we feel less anxiety in the future. But we have to start with what we're feeling right now in the moment. Let's take a look in a little bit more detail in all of the things that you're going to get and what we cover in each module. That's kind of the overview. If that's enough information for you, great. If you want more, then stick around. So first of all, you also get what I call an insights log. Let's look at that. So this is not a regular workbook that a lot of programs come with, where they basically just give you lined paper with their little logo on it and say, oh, here's your workbook. And they maybe ask you a few questions about what was covered in the program, or they just give you the slides. That's not what this is. This does have some repeated information, like this sheet here from the slides, as kind of a reminder to help you go through. So some of those key points are repeated, but the majority of the book contains other exercises to help you dig a little bit deeper. Let's just look at the first one. So here we're looking about how can we reframe this anxiety. Well, first we have to understand what you're feeling, and not just emotionally, but physically as well. And we need to understand them separately, because sometimes they appear separately, but it's still the same reaction. So here you have space to write what you're feeling emotionally and what you're feeling physically. And then can you associate those physical or emotional symptoms with other circumstances? So, for example, if you were not feeling anxious, you were feeling excited, are some of the physical symptoms like your heart racing or shortness of breath, or some of those symptoms associated with a completely different emotional state? Really important to know. It helps us, again, to regain that power, to re-empower ourselves. And then you'll have space here to make your emotional first aid kit. And where is it? Here, you'll have an opportunity to build your own self-care toolbox as well. And you'll see lots of extra information where I take what's in the course and then build on it to give you an extra example or another sample of how to do it. And really designed to help you take what you're learning in the program and dig so much deeper and really personalize it, because a lot of this information, of course, has to be relatively general because I don't know you personally yet. But I do know what it's like to suffer with anxiety for years, anxiety where I didn't leave the house. If I did, I couldn't go alone. I needed someone to go with me simply because I couldn't deal with the feelings of anxiety. And I don't want other people to feel that way. Obviously, I didn't want to feel that way myself. And I don't want you to feel that way. And sadly, so many young people are dealing with that level of anxiety every single day. It's not just a period of a few minutes or an hour or a few days. It's every day for a lot of these kids. They feel so much anxiety that they don't function at their best. They aren't able to reach their full potential because they feel anxious. I'm not okay with that. So that's part of what this course or this program is for, is to help them, help you to empower your kids. And if you want your teenagers or your kids to sit in with you, it's completely family appropriate. And they're more than welcome. And I try my best to break things down in such a way that the kids can understand it even when they're in that moment of feeling anxiety, because when we feel like that, we're not processing at our best either. This is an example of that, because from the moment something happens, which is the stimulus, to the moment our heart starts racing, which is a symptom, it feels instantaneous. But there are a lot of things that happen in between those two moments. And this chart is extremely oversimplified. It does not include everything. These are just some of the key elements and aspects and parts of the process that I've noticed for myself and for my friends and family and clients really have a profound impact on the way that anxiety is provoked and exacerbated and perpetuated. So the way that it starts and continues. Here, we're gonna, in this section, see, I told you I couldn't help but teach. In this section, we'll break that down and look at what's going on in these moments, in this instant, and where can we interrupt this process and say, whoa, wait a second, I want to do something different. Where can we do that? And it's at this point that I want to be very clear that I am not a licensed medical or psychiatric professional. I do have a lot of coaching certifications. You can go to www.askpaloma.com to look at those. And I have my own personal experience with clients, but I'm not able to diagnose whether or not you have an anxiety disorder, nor am I here to be able to treat that. What we are doing is looking at this other piece of the puzzle to see what we can do to work in tandem with any other things that you might be doing with those healthcare professionals. Because basically, what they're going to be doing and focusing on, if you're taking medication, for example, is simply the production of chemicals. And that's important. That's a key piece of the process, but it's not the only part of the process. So if you're taking medication and you may need it and it may be helping you, but it's not addressing all of the pieces of the situation. And so we need to look at that. And this program is not designed to treat an anxiety disorder, but to help you to understand the thought processes and to understand yourself and to feel empowered to be able to change your thoughts, to be able to change your reaction at any time that you need or want to. We will go through it step by step, exactly what you're supposed to do and how we can change that. And one part of that is designing a first aid kit to help you change your focus. We'll consider, where are you? What's going on around you? Because that's important, right? If you're, let me go back here for a second. If you are at the grocery store, you cannot reasonably, realistically, comfortably, and effectively respond to an anxiety attack or feelings of anxiety in the same way as you would if you were at home by yourself with nowhere to go for hours, right? That's what this is about. We need to look at that before we get into the different techniques that we can try. Because which technique you'll use really depends on how safe you feel in the environment in which you start to feel anxiety. And because I experienced so much anxiety when I was at work and at school and in other environments where I was not safe at home in my house by myself, I include a lot of things in this program that you can do very discreetly, that other people have no idea what you're doing or very little idea. In the next section here, we will cover so many different things that you can do when you start to feel anxiety happening, or when you all of a sudden realize, wow, I'm having a full-blown panic attack. What am I supposed to do? We'll cover a lot of those things. So we have, of course, we're going to talk about breathing. Now, I know everybody's breathing is really important, and we're going to talk about why beyond it calms the vagus nerve, because we all know this by now. And we will address, because I know the feeling. You're in the middle of a panic attack and you think, I don't know how to breathe. I've forgotten how to breathe. And then you start panicking all over again because you think you've forgotten how to breathe. And it's only funny when you have looked back at it after years and years of not having that sensation anymore. In the moment, it is absolutely terrifying. So we're going to address that. We're going to cover so many different tools and techniques and things that you can do very discreetly. You can see page after page after page of different things. Then we're going to start looking at your self-care toolbox. So these are the foundational things. We'll talk about when should you seek help, when should you try to do it on your own. And our objective with this self-care toolbox is not to cure anxiety, because we can't. If you look at, I think it's the NIH website, there is no cure for anxiety. There's no cure for it because we need it. That anxiety, I know that sounds very offensive. We need anxiety to say to us, something doesn't feel right. Please, can you pay attention and see what I can do to change the situation, to protect myself, to protect someone that I care about, or something that I care about. We need that, but we also need it to shut up when we've heard it and we're doing our best, right? So just like the alarm on your phone, when you need to wake up at a certain time in the morning, you set the alarm and you expect it, you need it to go off at whatever time it is you need to wake up. And you need it to be loud enough that you can hear it. You need it to stay on long enough that it wakes you up. But then when you are awake, you really want it to stop, to be quiet. The anxiety is exactly the same. And this is what we're doing. So we've already talked about how do we shut the alarm off. That's in the first aid kit. Now we're looking at how do we set the alarm to go off when and how we want it to. That is setting ourselves up for a feeling, an overall feeling of peace. This is not a peaceful world that we're living in. So we have to create that level of inner peace. We have to create it ourselves through our choices and what we choose to accept and reject. And the first step is to know where we're at right now and to know where we want to go. And then we start looking at what protocols do we need to get ourselves there. And this, again, is not an absolute peace. It's just something closer than where we are now. So we go back through this situation, through this process, and we analyze it in the context of these things. We see what we need to do and how we can use different routines. I want to stop here, actually. How we can use our routines and integrate every aspect of our lives into setting ourselves up for peace instead of just ongoing anxiety. And many people recoil at the idea of routines. we don't need routines. We shouldn't have routines. Da, 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 da. If you look at the rest of nature, there are routines. Day and night is a routine. And they both serve critical roles in the functioning of everything. The way that we rest, the way that we reset, the way that we heal, the way that plants grow, the way the tides move, all of these things are impacted by this routine. So the routine is important. And you can see in different areas of the world, the further you go from the equator, the routine is more likely to change throughout the year. The days get shorter and the nights get longer, or vice versa. So routines are flexible, even though it doesn't seem like it at the time. But this point right here, I actually wrote for someone whom I adore so much, but hates it when I say, well, you need a routine. She hates it. So I wrote this for her, and it's perfect to include here. The objective of a routine, the point why we have a routine, I promise, is not to trap you in some sort of mundane or very boring, the same repetition. The point of a routine is to create a safe and healthy default setting, a framework. Then you are free. Your energy is free to enjoy the rest of your life more because that framework is there. Just something to think about. We'll talk about that more in the program. We talk about how you can incorporate all of these different aspects of life. And I want you to know that throughout this program, I incorporate a lot of different things and talk about variations because every person is unique. And you're also dynamic, which is to say that you are constantly changing. Every time you eat something, every time you have a new thought, you're changing your biological chemistry. It's changing all the time. So you aren't the same person as you were 5 minutes ago, or however long it's been since we started this video. You're a different person now. And we need to honor and respect that and work with it instead of working against it. And this is where the routines can be flexible. So we talk about everything from nutrition to sleep to community. And we talk about how this whole process is based on your beliefs and your values and who you are at the core. So that's the end of the program. It's so in depth. And with this upgrade that I've given it, I'm breaking it down into little pieces at a time. And this particular version that will go live on October 1st is designed to not just to break it down, but I'm also building it as we go so that I can add the elements or change elements that aren't working for people as far as things like the group, the community group. We're going to build that and start that together. The Q&A calls, these kinds of things that are more live, we're going to do together and design it together. So that being said, because of that, because this is being built as we go, even though this program normally would go for $299, you'd buy it for $299 if that's what you wanted, it's just $99. So every day during October, there will be a new video covering this information more in depth. Believe me, this is just the highlights. Or a Q&A call. So we'll have a total of 4 Q&A calls throughout the month. You get the insights log. You get also some breathing meditations to help you remember how to breathe and to help you to practice that. And then we'll also have a group where you can reach out to me and ask questions as you go along. And of course, you can ask personalized questions if you want. That's what we've got so far. And if we need to change something, then we can talk about that as we go along. But I hope that this preview was really helpful for you. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to send me an email, paloma@askpaloma.com. I Thank you so much for taking the time to invest in yourself and to invest in the people that you love and that you care about around you who will benefit from even just any little nugget that you got from this video, any new thought, any new idea, just this tiny piece. I look forward to seeing you in the program. Thanks. Bye bye.